Good evening and welcome to the Newshour Agenda. I'm Madhavdas G. Viewers, with just hours left for phase 1 of voting in West Bengal, the Supreme Court has strongly criticized Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee for allegedly intervening in an ED search at the Kolkata residence of Pratik Jain, co-founder and director of political consultancy firm I-PAC, in January as part of a money laundering probe. The top court has described the socio-political environment in the poll-bound state as a quote-unquote extraordinary situation, referring to allegations that the chief minister entered the premises during the raid and allegedly took away a laptop, mobile phone and documents. Now, the court has observed that such conduct by a sitting chief minister raises serious concerns and could undermine democratic processes. Let's take a look at what the court has said in this particular instance. The first observation is that cannot put democracy in jeopardy. The second observation they talk about, if you can quickly bring that on the screen, is of course what the court has said. Let's quickly bring in the second observation, please, where they're talking about not losing sight of the practical situation. If you can bring in the second observation of Supreme Court, yes, that's the observation, can't lose sight of the practical situation. They've also said not just a Ram versus Sham dispute. They further observed that don't compel us to make observations. They further said extraordinary case, contours are different. The sixth observation is that there are several judicial officers who've been kept hostage. Observation number 7 is that never thought that such a day would come. Observation 8, while probe was on, Chief Minister barged into the room. Now remember, this comes just hours before polling, and that BJP has cited Supreme Court observations to say that West Bengal is witnessing the law of ruler and not the rule of law. Here's how the response came in.
ममता बनर्जी जो आज पर्याय बन गई है जंगल राज का, अराजकता की मूर्ति, जंगल राज का प्रतीक जिन्हें कहा जा रहा है, एक बड़ा बदलाव पश्चिम बंगाल में जनता मांग रही है, जिसके लिए वो मतदान करेगी। और ये बहुत स्पष्ट है कि ये जंगल राज ममता बनर्जी का अब आगे कायम नहीं रहेगा।
Supreme Court has strongly reprimanded the Mamata Banerjee and said that you have taken law into your hand. I mean, she is the home minister and she is the chief minister both. And the way she intervened into the legal procedure of the ED was violating the law. And what she picked up was the file of the West Bengal government. I mean, she need to answer what was the West Bengal government files doing in the I-PAC office, and why did she interfere into the legal procedure of the ED? This clearly shows that there is something more than what we know, and also that Supreme Court has rightly reprimanded her that she has taken law into her hand.
However, the India bloc allies are rallying behind Mamata Banerjee and claim that this is just another display of the centre misusing agencies.
पहले तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कोई फटकार नहीं, अपना ऑब्जर्वेशन दिया है, ये कोई वर्डिक्ट नहीं है। नंबर 2, भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने जिस प्रकार से ईडी और सीबीआई का दुरुपयोग किया है, उसी प्रकार से बंगाल में भी उन्होंने वही काम किया है। ये सबको पता था कि बंगाल में टीएमसी का पूरा चुनाव का काम धाम आई-पैक जैसी संस्था कर रही है। चुनाव के ठीक पहले उसके वहां रेड डालना ये संयोग नहीं है, ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी का एक गंदा प्रयोग है जो हर राज्य में करती है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी सीधे तरीके से जब चुनाव नहीं जीत पाती तो उसमें वो गलत तरीके से अपने चीजों को इस्तेमाल करती है।
Let's quickly open this up to our guest now. Joining us is Pradeep Bhandari, national spokesperson of BJP. We have Dr. Anand author with us. Also with us is Saurabh Chandra, national spokesperson of TMC. Kamruzaman Chaudhary is political analyst joining us. Also with us is Abhinandita Mathur, national spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. I'd like to thank all of you ladies and gentlemen for joining us. But my first question is to Saurabh Chandra. And Saurabh Chandra, I'm just going to verbatim quote what the Supreme Court has said. They have very clearly said, we never thought a day will come when a sitting chief minister will barge into a place where an investigating agency is conducting a probe. This has put democracy in peril. Now, as Supreme Court is talking about breakdown of constitutional conduct by Mamata Banerjee, you know, this is a very, very stinging statement. It doesn't get bigger than this when it comes to an observation by the apex court.
Right. So good evening to you and to all the panelists. First and foremost, I seek your forgiveness that I am doing this in my car, because as you are aware that the elections in Bengal are on and I've been campaigning. Forgive me for that. But having said that, in response to the Supreme Court observations, I would just draw a distinction here. These are observations. This is not the final verdict. Therefore, often we've seen that the Apex Court, and not just the Apex Court, when as a student of law myself, we've seen that when there are matters before the High Court, there are certain observations which are made by the judges. Eventually, we've often seen that the final verdict is very, very different from the observations which have been made. Therefore, I would
there must be some reasoning behind this observation, Mr. Chandra. Do you believe not? Because it's not just this. They have gone on to add that it's not only a center-state dispute, but a case where an individual did something which put democracy in peril. Now, whether it comes out in black and white is when it comes out, we'll debate that. But at the moment, we have these observations which we are discussing.
Yes,
so thereby, there are serious questions about the conduct of Mamata Banerjee, because we have not heard this about perhaps any chief minister in the country earlier.
So, no chief minister has ever pleaded her own case before the Supreme Court. That is also true, conversely. Having said that...
that has nothing to do with interfering in an investigation, sir.
No,
your legal recourse as a citizen or as a spokesperson or as a politician, whatever it may be, that is a separate issue. In this issue, the issue we are debating is whether or not she crossed a line as a constitutional functionary by investigating, by interfering in investigation. The court is saying that is what the court is saying. I'm purely reading out what the court is saying.
I agree with you, and simply I'd say this, that I would not jump the gun and I'll wait for the final verdict. That is all. So observations and verdict, final verdict are two different things. And therefore, I would really hold my horses before I jump the gun and conclude something. You are actually reading into the observations and passing a final verdict, which I have a problem with.
No, I am nobody to pass a verdict, sir. I am neither a judicial authority. I am merely reflecting upon this, and this is open to discussion. There are points of view. You are reflecting the TMC's point of view, and there is a BJP as well. In fact, let me bring in Pradeep Bhandari. Why are we jumping the gun, Pradeep Bhandari? These are merely observations. It's not in black and white. Let's wait for the final order. Please respond to TMC spokesperson.
Well, Madhav, I've been in Bengal in the last 6 months, and I'm right now debating with you in Bengal. And let me tell you that the people on the ground are extremely angry and are seeing through this entire drama of the Trinamool Congress, because whenever the Trinamool Congress wants to hide its corruption or fears that an investigation will unravel the entire syndicate of corruption, it hides behind a fictitious narrative of center versus state, and this fictitious narrative was completely demolished in the observation by the Honorable Court. Please note that these are not very mere observations. The Honorable Court goes ahead and says that they have not seen such a situation in the last 70 years, and in fact the founding fathers would not have even imagined that a sitting chief minister or a sitting constitutional functionary would stop an investigation and putting democracy in peril. So I believe this is the lowest moment in the last 70 years when a sitting chief minister attempted to take democracy under its own hand. And this is just not one instance, Madhav. Recall what the Calcutta High Court had observed in 2021 after the post-poll violence, and it said that there is no rule of law of the ruler in Bengal. And the Honorable Court further goes ahead and says that she happens to be the chief minister. So somebody who happens to be the chief minister cannot barge into an investigation and prevent the investigation. This completely demolishes the narrative that the Trinamool Congress was trying to peddle in the last 6 months, that the investigative agencies are used as tools by the center in order to trouble the Trinamool Congress. The court has acknowledged that all the investigative agencies were doing their dutiful, lawful act. Today, the Trinamool Congress needs to apologize to the people of Bengal, because the Mamata Banerjee never pleaded for the RG Kar rape and murder victim, never pleaded for the Hanskali victim, never pleaded for the Kamduni victim. In fact, she villainized and tried to discredit the victim. But she went ahead and pleaded for a private company, which the court has demolished. And she went ahead and tried to interfere in an investigation, which was not on a Trinamool Congress neta, mind you. It was on a private individual.
I will ask all of this. When it comes to law and order, there are many questions that the BJP will ask you, and I'm not going to get into too many of them. But it is a fact that on multiple occasions when central agencies have come to the state of West Bengal, it has been seen that perhaps not Mamata Banerjee, but her party cadre end up blocking them. You know, you may be opposed to the investigation, but there are legal ways to fight it, political ways to fight it. Do you have to physically blockade the officers from carrying out their job? Is a question that now comes out of what the court says.
See, you said that we have to legally and politically fight it, and we are doing that. We are precisely doing that. Just one question instead of getting into whataboutery. There's a lot of talk about misuse of agencies. But what is the conviction rate of the ED? That is a simple question which I put to you.
No, of course, you
more
put
than
that question to BJP, I have
90%.
no problem. Whether it's CBI, ED, whichever central agency you have a problem with, please fight it out with the BJP. There is no issue. But the point being made is, for instance, and I'm just going to quote, again I'm quoting from what the court has said. What is going on in the state of West Bengal? Recently, judicial officers were held hostage and the state did nothing. You expect us to go to a magistrate for relief. It is a fact that judicial officers were appointed, and it is a fact that in certain situations they were held hostage. In some cases for 7, 8, even 9 hours.
Yeah, so when you're talking about the hera of the judicial officers, there's one simple response to it. Who was responsible for it? The entire administration effectively was under the Election Commission. So and they had transferred officers in and out of the state. They've been doing that. And therefore, if there's anybody who's accountable and responsible for the massive collapse of law and order which took place that day, it is the Election Commission. You cannot hold the Chief Minister of the government of West Bengal
the state government very much has control over the administration. The Election Commission can also, in addition to that, tell you, it is not like the governance that suddenly the CEC becomes the CM of the state. That also is not the case. But Nevertheless, since you've asked a question on the misuse of agencies, I'm going to allow Pradeep a quick rebuttal on that. Pradeep, central agencies misused on multiple occasions, not just in West Bengal, but in other states also. Respond to that.
Well, Madhav, the Supreme Court does not believe that the investigative agencies are misused. Let me just quote the Supreme Court. And I quote the Supreme Court because the observations are very, very glaring. This is an act committed by an individual who happens to be the chief minister of a state. Let us not lose sight of the practical situation which is recurring in the state. This is keeping the democracy in peril. This is not a dispute between state and center. So the entire attempt to play victim has fallen flat of the Trinamool Congress, and even the Supreme Court acknowledges. In fact, in the judicial officer case also, it was the court which opined that yours is the most politically polarized state and you attempt to always color everything politically. So nowhere in the last many years, whether it is Calcutta High Court or the Supreme Court, has admitted the plea of this Bengal government that it is being targeted or villainized by the investigative agencies, any of the act. Because on facts, whether it is acts of corruption or whether it is the Trinamool Congress Supremo Mamata Banerjee, all of them are proving a point that there is some big syndicate of corruption which is there to hide. This is why they attempted to stop a lawful legal raid. And I believe that this is something which is a start of what the Honorable Prime Minister said, that dutifully all the cases of corruption will be taken to task.
Okay, all the cases of corruption are going to be taken up. Kamruzaman Chaudhary, I'm seeing your hands, Saurabh, but let others come in now. The big question that is on many people's minds is not every day you hear Supreme Court using this kind of language. And you may believe that this is just temporary, that there may be a final order, etc. All that is a separate thing. But before us right now is what Supreme Court has said. How much of this is really going to hurt the Trinamool Congress? And the people's perception is a big question at this point of time when there's an election underway in West Bengal.
No, it will hardly matter in West Bengal right now. Sitting from Calcutta and speaking in your channel, I believe that we have got context also. We have got precedents also. Prior to the 2019 elections, Lok Sabha elections in February, that is exactly to be precise.
Percentage vote share, Kamru.
Why are you interfering now?
On Bengal elections. The man who does not even have
इस आदमी को बोलो चुप करने के लिए.
Okay, Pradeep, let him make his point. You can respond. In fact, there are two other panelists who have not even spoken. Pradeep, 1 second. Let
very important,
make his point.
Madhav, these guys, they do not want to listen to the facts. They are based only on rhetorics and rhetorics. Now, Madhav, very important point for your viewers to understand the context. In 2019 February, the CBI team landed up at the police commissioner, Mr. Rajiv Kumar's residence. At that time, Mamata Banerjee went to the house of Rajiv Kumar, now the TMC MP. At that time, he was the police commissioner of Calcutta. She sat on a dharna out there. It was also interfering in the central government agencies' work. That time, the same matter reached to the Supreme Court. And what did the Supreme Court say? That CBI can investigate Rajiv Kumar, but at a neutral location of Shillong. That's very clear with us. Now, the Supreme Court did not castigate Mamata Banerjee at that time.
But they've castigated her now.
No.
What is the comparison to be made?
Because there are 2 points to this entire debate. One is the context that BJP is very much guilty of creating ED, CBI and other agencies
Mr.
for its
Chaudhary,
political
please
purpose.
look at
Madhav,
these
let me
visuals.
finish.
What is Mamata
I'll
Banerjee
finish
carrying in her
very,
hand?
very
Just a second,
clearly.
Mr. Chaudhary, before you go any further, please, I don't know if you can see these visuals on your screen. There is a green file that she is carrying, and that file is supposed to contain some amount of evidence. Now, this is the claim. It is not my claim, but it is a claim of the agencies. If you're going to allow for political leaders to intervene in investigations and take data out of it, what is the precedence being set? This is the basic question that Supreme Court is also asking today.
No, Supreme Court should have asked the same question in 2019. So the melodrama that she did this time, when the ED
Did she take out
raided
any
its
evidence
political-
in 2019? Please tell me.
Yes.
She
What
took
happened to
evidence
that
out.
case, Rajiv? Let the BJP spokesperson tell us what did the ED, CBI
I'm asking
find
you a
by
question, sir. In
interrogating
this
Rajiv
case, is a
Kumar?
direct charge of removing evidence from a location. Was that the charge in Rajiv Kumar's case? No.
She interfered, and the Calcutta police caught the CBI officers hostage for 6 hours.
Okay.
in
Dr.
Calcutta.
Ranganathan. Okay. We're not going any further, but let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan. Dr. Ranganathan, is there a
Madhav,
comparison
most
between Rajiv
important
Kumar's
point
case in terms of the legal aspect of it, as Kamruzaman Chaudhary, is drawing a parallel? Is there a parallel to be drawn in the first place? Please respond. Please unmute yourself and speak, Dr. Ranganathan.
Good evening, Madhav. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can now.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I need to make a couple of points briefly because there is another panelist who hasn't spoken. What are we discussing out here? Can we at least get one thing to be agreed upon by everyone, that we are a banana republic and the Supreme Court is at the top of it? And I speak with all responsibility because here it is that I'm giving you living proof. Madhav, if you or I were to barge into an active crime scene investigation and flee with an important piece of evidence, what do you think would have happened to us within an hour? We would have been thrown in jail. We would have been rotting in jail for more than a month. And the same Supreme Court would have said, no mercy. How dare you do this? You impede an ongoing investigation, whatever your powers are. And out here, the same Supreme Court does not have the guts to put this in an order to castigate, to punish the sitting chief minister at that point of time, and merely observes. Is that what law has become? I'm sorry, I'm boiling in blood because the fact of the matter is there seems to be two rules. One for us and the other for people who hold power. And my dear friend Saurabh out here, I hope he agrees with me. He's one of the most erudite people I've met amongst the TMC. Would he not at least accept that if he were to flee with a file, an important piece of evidence, right now he would be on that panel behind bars? This is the difference. And I am embarrassed to belong to a country where people are just let off for the blatant live on camera crime that they commit on mere observations. This is worse than a rap of a feather on your knuckle. I'm sorry.
Judge Loya case.
Respond to that. Respond to that, Kamruzaman Chaudhary. Double standards much?
No, this is not double standards. Madhav, you must be in West Bengal right now. I don't know what the public will be voting for on the 23rd and the 29th. But this is literally a war zone in Bengal right now. ED, CBI, income tax, all the paramilitary forces, around 3 lakh of them are out on the streets of Calcutta. I, being a politician of over 25 years in Bengal, I've never seen such a unprecedented steps that are being taken by the Home Ministry. I can say directly the Home Ministry. You see the ED, CBI, they should be active the year around. But the perception that we are getting from an opposition point of view, I have no love for TMC, no love for BJP. But the basic question that every Bengali is asking,
Chaudhary, is it a fact that the number of phases have been reduced?
At the point of election.
Is it a fact that, and I'm reading out from a respected newspaper whose analysis of political violence incidents of the last decade has come out, West Bengal accounts for 59%, 59.6 to be specific. So are you surprised that these agencies are there? That security agencies, paramilitary forces are present in huge numbers?
Never.
And have you forgotten the post-poll violence that took place last time around?
Madhav, Election Commission has issued diktats today. Nobody can come. My relative, my friends cannot come to my house on the day of polling. I cannot ride a two-wheeler on the day of the polling. For 10 days, all alcohol is banned in the state. There are bulletproof cars roaming around.
It's a 96-hour liquor ban, but what is the problem with liquor ban?
No. Why? Have you done
There's
that?
a liquor ban going on in Tamil Nadu also.
Have you done that in other states of UP?
No, my dear sir, in the state of Tamil Nadu also, there's a 3-day liquor ban.
No,
currently it's on.
We have got a 10-day liquor ban. 10-day liquor ban.
10 days.
And 600 crores lost. But still, then, from the BJP candidates' brothers, the police recovered hundreds of thousands of bundles of notes and liquor.
Okay. Dr. Ragnathan, you know, he has serious concerns. 10 days liquor is not allowed. He can't meet his relatives. What's going on in West Bengal?
I appreciate Kamruji's concern, and he's a very dear friend. I promise I will send you 3 bottles of 8 p.m. right now.
No, I don't take. I take Shiva's Regal. To be very honest.
Okay, let's not discuss and start endorsing brands, please. That's not the case, and it's the 10 p.m. show in any case. But, you know, the bigger question over here, and let me bring in Pradeep before I bring in the AAP spokesperson. You know, Pradeep Bhandari, the charge over here by the Congress in this case, Congress supporter in this case, by the TMC, is that the Election Commission is, you know, some sense it's trying to sort of become a player in this. It's being extra strict with West Bengal. And why is this happening? This is a concern that we see repeatedly being expressed by the TMC and other opposition parties. Pradeep.
Well, it has to, Madhav, because first of all, the Election Commission is working under the jurisdiction and the supervision of the Supreme Court of India, whether it is in the SIR process or any other process. Have we forgotten the 2021 post-poll violence where the Calcutta High Court had opined that there is no rule of law but law of the ruler in Bengal? In fact, 59% of the entire cases of violence, political violence, have happened in the last decade only in the state of West Bengal. And the dear fellow from the Congress party, which has only 2% vote share in Bengal, is contradicting the party line because his own leader, which is Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, has admitted that under Mamata Banerjee, political opponents are targeted, booths are captured. Have we forgotten the Panchayat polls where we saw the visual of a man belonging to Trinamool Congress taking a peti and running away from the polling booth? So he's speaking about liquor brands. It is unfortunate he's not even spoken once about the Bengal's Mati Manush, which want a free and fair poll. And a free and fair poll is a constitutional right that the people of Bengal need to have. And this is what the Election Commission is doing under the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And if the Congress party believes it is incorrect, then the Congress party should further go and challenge it in the Supreme Court. In fact, the Congress spokesperson has contradicted Rahul Gandhi because Rahul Gandhi
I think that's an important point. And let me bring in the AAP spokesperson on this before I bring back Amruzaman Chaudhary. Abhinandita Mathur, this is a very strange and peculiar thing. And Pradeep has actually pointed out a very interesting thing. Rahul Gandhi attacks Mamata Banerjee on the issue of corruption. The same Congress party attacks Aam Aadmi party on the issue of corruption. They say that we were the ones who complained in the liquor gate case. Of course, they flip-flopped on that multiple times. But what is really going on? And can the India bloc really be said to be united? Of course, your party is officially not with the India bloc. But in the state of West Bengal, it's quite another thing. What exactly is going on? And how does this speak for opposition unity? Either agencies are being misused or the agencies are exposing corruption. Please unmute yourself and speak, ma'am.
Responding to your more important question that you've been asking the other panelists, first I must say that this is not about one raid or one episode. What is happening at the moment is a very, very systematic attack on elections. BJP is stealing elections in India. The same playbook was used in Delhi. Now they've gone one step ahead. You know, the same ED, CBI, raids, the election commissioner now, of course, is completely blinded for his, you know, by his love for Mr. Modi. And, you know, it's just unprecedented what is happening. And yes, people who care about this country will come together and oppose this. Since you were talking about the Supreme Court,
aspersions on the Supreme Court of India.
let me also certainly let me speak. I did not interrupt you. I did not interrupt you.
Okay. Let her respond. Pradeep, she has not yet made any opening comment. Let her make a comment and you can get responses on that. Please, let's go one by one.
Right. I would also like to quote the Honorable Supreme Court, who in 2004 said that on the timing of the arrest of Arvind Kejriwal, the Honorable Supreme Court said the arrest by the CBI seemed designed to frustrate the bail granted by the ED, raising questions. On institutional integrity, the Honorable Supreme Court said that it must not be seen, these agencies must not be seen as above board to maintain public confidence. The Honorable Court also said that cooperation with investigative agencies does not mean providing answers only in the manner in which the agency expects. The agencies are looking above board. They rather than looking like a caged parrot, they should rise above it. These are also,
Okay, Pradeep, answer that question, because they will also point out that Election Commission has issued notice to Mallikarjun Kharge for use of a word terrorist, and that is with the Election Commission will be acting as per procedure. But when it comes to the charge of misusing the state broadcaster, etc., the opposition says we are complaining on. There is no such swift action on part of the EC. You have heard those statements as well. Respond to these charges.
Pradeep, 5 seconds. Can I please take 5 seconds?
Well, first of all, Madhav, it is extremely unfortunate that... Can I go ahead?
Okay, one by one, please. Yeah. Okay, Pradeep, make your point and then come into Dr. Anand. Anand, come into just a minute. Yeah.
Well, Madhav, just a 20 seconds rejoinder. It is extremely unfortunate that the spokesperson from the Aam Aadmi Party in a 2-judge bench of the Supreme Court, where the judges differed from each other, quoted one judge and did not quote the other judge. This is exactly the psyche of the Aam Aadmi Party, which was expressed in the Delhi High Court, where they tried to cast aspersions on the judge just because the judge tried to pass an order which the Aam Aadmi Party did not agree to. This is the emergency part, a mindset which we are opposing. We do not cast aspersions on the judge or the Election Commission or any other constitutional body just because the verdict is something which we do not agree with. But the Aam Aadmi Party is setting a precedent which the Congress Party started at the time of the emergency, that if a judge agrees to me, the judge is correct. If a judgment comes in my favor, then it is correct. Otherwise, the investigative
So you're saying this is selective interpretation of judgments? Dr. Anand Rathan.
This is an anti-constitutional psyche.
Dr.
This is
Nathan.
urban Naxal psyche.
No, I just want to, because the very erudite spokesperson of Aam Aadmi Party is castigating the ED, even though the strictures of ED were okayed by the Supreme Court in 2023. I don't need to go into the data where PMLA cases, 95% have led to conviction when the judgment has been decided. But I want to ask a simple question. If you are so much against ED and believe it's in the pocket of Modi, why did you support the ED raid on Ms. Bhatia, who was a BJP leader in Haryana and a Congress leader in Punjab? Why didn't you say that ED was being manipulated then? There you supported those raids on those leaders. Why?
Respond. Abhinandita, respond.
Look, these are very good tactics to basically take us away from what is happening in Bengal, what the country needs to. I'm not falling into this trap. The more critical question
is... the principle applies to all parties.
Free and fair election will happen in Bengal.
I'll come to it. I'll answer your question. I will come to it.
What is happening in Bengal?
But I'm very surprised that, Dr. Ranganathan as well as Mr. Pradeep did not once talk about the poor informed election commissioner who has not at all taken cognizance of what Prime Minister Modi has done by going on air on the eve of elections, by going on air, actually breaking the model code of conduct.
The government.
Do you
have
think?
You forgotten Naveen Chawla, the man who used to work for Sonia Gandhi?
They will. Today, your party supremo. Today, your party supremo.
Election commissioner. Have
Today,
you forgotten MS Gill?
You are supporting, but believe me, we are going to come after you as well.
What are you speaking about, madam?
Let me come back to a more fundamental question. Just a second, please. Just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just come back. I want to bring in fact, on this aspect, Kamruzaman Chaudhary. Kamruzaman Chaudhary, what is the Congress's stand when it comes to central agencies being misused? Because if in Delhi you say that we are the ones who complained when it came to Liquorgate, did a few flip-flops in the various assembly and Lok Sabha elections. Again in West Bengal, you're attacking Mamata Banerjee on the issues of corruption, which are being probed by the similar central government agencies. Either there is misuse of these agencies or there is genuine corruption probes happening. No, which one is it, sir? And also, by the way, let me also just point out that it's not just in West Bengal. Even, when it comes to Tamil Nadu, Mr. Rahul Gandhi is not seen campaigning with Mr. Stalin. So what is going on in the India alliance is a very serious question.
Madhav, to the first question, it's not so simplistic to get into the deeper details of the central investigating agencies working in Bengal or opposition ruled state and BJP ruled states. There is a hell lot of difference between these two. What we as a Congress party are seeing out here is when you want to target a particular political party or an opposition leader, you go all out against them. Your basic motive is not to catch the corrupt. Your basic motive is to make that particular politician change his political color. That's your motive. That's what you did in Maharashtra. That's what you did in other places of the country. That's what you are doing right now in every part of the country. Basically, before the
Chaudhary, all I can say is we are out of time on this debate, but you'd recollect certain comments made by top leaders like Mulayam Singh Yadav and Mayawati and how they have been pressured by past governments of the Congress using similar central government agencies. But we'll have to leave it there. I really don't have time for more discussion. We'd love to have a much longer debate, but I suspect we haven't heard the last word yet on it. I'd like to thank our panelists Saurav Chandar and Abhinandita Matru for joining us on this debate. Other three panelists, Pradeep Bhandari, Dr. Anand Raghunathan and Kamaruzzaman Chaudhary, stay with us for debate number 2.